Luke 1 verse 31. And behold, thou shalt conceive in thy womb, and bring forth a son, and shall call his name Yahusha. He shall be great, and shall be called the Son of the Highest. And Yahuah Elohim shall give unto him the throne of his father David. And he shall reign over the house of Jacob or Jacob forever. And of his kingdom there shall be no end.
Now, what we're looking at is, in Luke it said, behold, you shall conceive in your womb, and bring forth a son, and shall call his name Yahusha. In other words, Yahu's salvation, or Yahuah's salvation. And who is Yahuah coming to save? Yashra'al, the nation of Israel. And it said, he shall be great and shall be called the Son of the Highest. And Yahuah Elohim shall give unto him the throne of his father Daud, and shall reign over the house of who? The house of Jacob, whose name was changed to what? Israel. So, the house of Jacob is who?
House of Jacob, that's both of them together.
That's both of them together. The whole house of Jacob. The house of Jacob is all 12 tribes together. How do we know that?
Jacob had 12 sons.
Jacob had 12 sons. But what out of one of these verses will give us that though? What did he say after he would rule over the house of Jacob?
Yeah, because Jacob actually had 10 and Joseph had 2.
And he said forever, he said he will what? Reign over the house of Jacob forever, and his kingdom there should be no end. So when we read about the kingdom last week, we read about what? 4 walls surround the kingdom. In those walls, 3 gates. And inscribed in those gates were what? The names of the 12 tribes of Israel. So his kingdom has to do with who? Yashra'al, Israel. And he's going to reign what? Over the house of Israel, or the house of Jacob, or the nation of Israel forever. And there will be no what?
No end.
No end to his kingdom. So what we see here is we have consistently gone through all of these scriptures, starting with the covenant, moving all the way forward from lesson 1 all the way up into this one, and it has been consistently Israel. We've identified Israel and show how when you approach this book the right way or the correct way, you know it's about Israel. We're not being biased in our teaching when we say certain things. We're not being prejudiced. Most people have not read the scriptures this way. They've only taken what they've heard, passed down through the institutional or the religious institutions for decades, for centuries, and just ran with that. But you can't do that. You have to sit down and begin to read and study things out for yourself. And so that's what we want to do with this teaching. And we're going to close this out at that time, and without, moving forward, just always think this way and always approach the scriptures like this. And so, like I said, starting in our next teaching, we're going to deal with Isaiah 53. And we're going to show how it pertains to Mashiyach and the nation of Yashra'al. And it should show the importance and help us to start looking at things from the right perspective, to show how important the work of Mashiyach is. And after we get through Isaiah 53, if you had some kind of non-messianic ideas or whatever, or something telling you to lean toward that way, it's going to be hard for you to do. Yeah, it's going to be hard for you to do that. Because I know we're not reading this book right. You tell me, somebody said they're not Messianic, you couldn't understand what you're reading. There's no way you can read this book and call yourself a non-Messianic. And Isaiah 53 is the key to understanding what's going on both halves of the book, the front half and the back half. It's Isaiah 53. But like I said, in order to understand Isaiah, what's going on there, you got to go back to Leviticus. That's why it's so important that, and I'm telling y'all as students of the Word, it's very important that the lessons that we do, that you pay very close attention. And just try to gather, just go home and look at the videos and study this stuff. Because I did a lesson back, it's been a few months back, we were talking about the covenants and the different offerings. You have to understand the offerings in order to understand what's going on in Isaiah 53 and Leviticus. If Mashiyach said the volume of the book is written of him, you have to understand everything that's going on. You have to have everything to go. They weren't just taking up sacrificing all these animals for nothing. Everyone, the pigeons, the doves, everything had a certain purpose.
Absolutely.
But if you understand and know the purpose behind them, it's impossible not to see Mashiyach. It's impossible. So we're going to go into this stuff, and we're going to look at it. As soon as we get through with Isaiah 53, then we're going to start going to the Messianic teachings, and we're going to get some understanding of what's going on in Ephesians, what's going on in Galatians, all of these different places. These letters of Shaul, they were going out to these assemblies for a reason. Why were they going out to these assemblies? What was happening in the backdrop? Most times, you ever notice how when we read the book of Ephesians, we just start reading? Nobody ever go look up and see what's the history of Ephesus. What is going on during this time? If you go get an understanding of the history of what's going on, all of Shaul's letters and epistles make all the sense in the world. But nobody has ever told us to do that. We just pick up and start reading. But if you don't know the history of what's going on at that time, a lot of stuff is not going to make sense. Me and one big bro were having a conversation. It might have been yesterday, I think it was yesterday, and we was talking about circumcision. And I was saying, I said, we have to get a better understanding of circumcision. I said, now, circumcision was attached to the Abrahamic covenant, am I right? Mm-hmm. The Abrahamic covenant, even with that, when it was passed on to Israel, when they entered into that covenant, did they not circumcise? They did. It's from Sinai all the way up to Joshua before they entered into that land. How often did Israel circumcise? Y'all hear me out? What happened when Joshua and them got to go into that land? What did it had to circumcise because it had been what? 40 years. Nobody had circumcised in 40 years. You ever ask yourself why? You can't circumcise that broken covenant. Y'all got quiet on me then. Why weren't they circumcised in the wilderness? Do y'all know how many males were born in the wilderness?
Millions.
And no circumcision for 40 years? covenant that required circumcision had been broken. You can't circumcise to a broken covenant. Okay, then, well, why did they circumcise before they went into the land? They weren't circumcised in that covenant. It had became a right to enter into the land then. But we're going to go into that too, just as well, because I keep telling y'all, Apostle Shaul ain't crazy. He's not crazy at all. We're not understanding. And I'm going to tell y'all something. I was praying and talking to the Most High, and I said, now I'm fixing to do something. I'm finna ruffle a lot of feathers. I already know, but you know what? I'm grown enough to ruffle. The one thing about when the Most High puts something on my heart and give me the understanding, when he tell me to do it, now I wrestled with things for a long time. But when he said, now's the time to do it, I don't care who comes before me. I guarantee I got scripture to back everything I say. All I can say is be ready for a ride. So we gonna ride. And I don't know why the Most High has laid this on my heart so heavily. When I tell you we really diminish the value of what Mashiyach did for us, we don't have any earthly idea of what he did for us. Out of all of creation or whatever, everybody else is born to do what? Live.
Yeah.
You don't find the strange he came to die? He was already living. He came to die. The total opposite of man. You're going to live. You coming to this earth, you coming out of something, you coming into life to live. He came to die. Why? We done got so caught up over fringes and tassels and all this stuff. I mean, I'm telling y'all, we're missing him. When he speaks about how the Yashra'al missed the day of that visitation, we're about to be just like him. I know I'm on the right track because I can hear a pin fall. Sometimes I say a rat pee on cotton.
I ain't never heard that.
Oh. So let's take a little light walk. And we're going to tread, when I said we're going to thoroughly start getting into some history, we're going to thoroughly start. That's one thing I like about Moray. He would go into those Hebrew words on you. And we got to do more because we're fixing to see something. And that's why Moray sent me a video, and we both were kind of, it wasn't funny, but we were both kind of disturbed about what we were hearing on the Isaiah 53. And the one young man, he was right, but he just didn't know how to thoroughly convey his message or explain Isaiah 53. So it almost looked like the other guy, or the non-Messianic, kind of had an upper hand on him a little bit, but I'm like, wow. And I said, I wasn't going to go about it. It's just certain things that the Ruach, he just won't let me leave it alone. I got to deal with that one, y'all. Yeah. I got to deal with that one. But I found out through my study and preparing for that, it just took me somewhere else. I'm like, man, now we got to even go back and deal with some other stuff to make sense in the Messianic. Because it's so much that's going on there with Mashiyach. Mm-hmm. It's so much going on at Calvary. Y'all. And it's so many things that are being done. And you're reading it, it sounds like a nice script or movie, but it's deep. It all goes back. It all goes back. That's why he said it's written of me. That's what I'm saying. I mean, the Torah is beautiful. Everything that he was trying to teach them with all the animal, with all the blood, the sacrifice and the duties of the priesthood. He was trying to show him the importance of him, what he was going to be, how important he was to them. He was going to fulfill it all. And like we were talking earlier, when they walked Mashiyach to that cliff, why y'all thought they walked him to that cliff?
You know what, Maury? I'll let somebody else answer.
Can we read that? 'Cause I've never heard that before. I knew that they were crowded and they were going to get him, and he walked through them.
He disappeared.
They disappeared and walked through them, but I didn't know it was on a cliff.
Yeah, they were going to push him on the cliff.
I didn't get that.
At what time in Yashra'al's ventures of sacrifice and stuff like that, and offerings, is there a cliff involved?
I think it was when the sin offering with the goat.
Or the guilt offering?
Mm-hmm.
And they did what?
And because the father stopped accepting the offering, so they would just throw the animal over.
Did they push the animal on the cliff?
See, I didn't know that.
But it wasn't time for him to die. That's why he disappeared. When you finna get that one?
In Matthew?
Oh, you got it?
No, that's where's it at?
I know that in the book of Leviticus, the 16th chapter, what's important is that we understand what these rites, or what was going on with these rituals here. Like for example, if you go to the book of Leviticus, the 16th chapter, I did a class on this week about 6-7 years ago. I'll just read them just a little bit. 16th chapter, verse 1. It says, "And the father spoke unto Moses after the death of the two sons of Aaron, when they offered before the father and died. And the father said unto Moses, Speak unto Aaron, the Aharon, thy brother, that he come at all times in the set apart place within the veil, before the mercy seat which is upon the ark, that he die not. For I will appear in the cloud upon the mercy seat." Because we have the two cherubims that are actually in a prostrating position over the mercy seat. Then shall Aharon come, this is where it gets interesting at. Then shall Aharon come into the set apart place with a young bullock for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering. And he should put on the set apart linen coat, and he should have the linen breeches upon his flesh, and he should be girded with a linen girdle, and with the linen a mitri shall be attired. These are set apart garments, wherefore shall he wash his flesh in water, and so shall put them on. And he should take of the congregation of the children of Yashra'al 2 kids of the goats for a sin offering, and one ram for burnt offering. And Aaron shall offer his bullock of the sin offering which is upon himself, and make an atonement for himself and for his house. And he should take the 2 goats now, and present them before the father at the door of the congregation. And he shall cast lots upon these 2 goats. One lot has the service for the father, and the other one has the lot for the scapegoat. Just like when it was presented to Israel, who should we let go? Should we let go of Mashiyach, or should we let go Barnabas? The word Barnabas means the son of the father. But Barnabas now, he was actually about to be killed because he was guilty of insurrection. But being that Israel had this ceremony where every year to let something go, they actually now let go Barnabas. But we have here now a ritual that the Levites were doing. One goat goes into the wilderness. The other goat presents himself to the Father. You brought out in the book of, I think it was John the 5th chapter, where it talked about, I was lost my train of thought, where my work greater than that. So what was now the testimony that the Mashiyach had that was greater than John? These two goats now, one goes into the wilderness. This one goat goes into the wilderness and prepares the way for the goat that comes after him. It had gotten to the point in history now, it talks about where the goat would go out into the wilderness, and that was a sign of him taking the sins away from Israel. But it got to the point, I mean, can you imagine?
Yeah.
That goat is coming back.
That's right.
So, so everybody got afraid, but that was a sign now, is that the sins were not forgiven.
Exactly.
And it was also like a scarlet, like a towel, and it would be red. And it got to the point now in history, this is what they're saying now, is that it got to the point where it was not turning white anymore, which made them the forgiveness of sins. But watch this, and then I'll let you go over it. It says, and Aaron shall cast lots upon the two goats, and one lot for the father, and the other lot for the scapegoat. And Aaron should bring the goats which the father's lot fell on, and offer it for a sin offering. But the goat on which the lot fell to the scapegoat shall present it alive for the father to make an atonement with him, and to let him go out into the wilderness. But without going through everything here, I just wanted to share here the two importance of the goats, and what one goat had to do, what the other goat had to do. And so when we begin to look at the functions of what the Aaronic priesthood were doing, it is impossible to say that the Mashiyach never existed.
I mean, it's impossible.
It's just impossible. You look at the ark, you look at the 6 loaves that were divided, and then you had the menorah sitting in the middle, and where the priest now would get the ashes now from off the altar now, and then every 7th day there would be a turn of now the priest now, because of the 24 courses. All of that is I mean, without is impossible. It's simply impossible.
Yep.
So, like you said, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a
whole
lot.
lot.
But you're gonna have to really study, just like when Maury was bringing out about the cup. In drinking the cup, I must do my Father's will. And again, this is something that the Father needed for the groom, the Mashiyach, to do. And we as men, knowing, is that everything, let me back up a little bit. At the end of the day, everything goes back to the Father. The Mashiyach must present his bride to the Father. Now, as we were growing up, there might have been some little wild girls that we was messing with, but we would never bring those girls home to meet mommy and daddy. You know what? You can't, because they were wild, loose girls.
Right.
So it's like now, there's absolutely no way in the world that the Father, or the Mashiyach now can present the nation of Israel to the Father. Because just like you said, Ezekiel 16 chapter, she's filthy.
That's right.
That would be an embarrassment to bring an adulterated woman that's been sleeping around with everybody home to meet your parents. You can't do it.
Yep.
So like you said, this is all personal. This is a personal love story between the groom and the bride, and reconciling that relationship.
Most definitely.
Yeah, so that was it.
Hallelujah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, I don't know if you wanted to start it.
Go about 3 or 4 verses.
We still didn't get to,
I got it. I have it. Oh, awesome. Yeah, I got it. Let me see. Let me see where I can start. Okay, I'll start at 24. How about that? Luke 4, verse 24. And he said, verily I say unto you, no prophet is accepted in his own country. But I tell you of a truth, Many widows were in Israel in the days of Elias, when Shamayim or heaven was shut up 3 years and 6 months, when great famine was throughout all the land. But unto none of them was Elias sent, save unto Sarepta, a city of Sidon, unto a woman that was a widow. And many lepers were in Israel in the time of Eliseus the prophet, and none of them was cleansed, saving Naaman the Syrian. And all they in the synagogue, when they heard these things, were filled with wrath, and rose up and thrust him out of the city, and led him into the brow of the hill wherein the city was built, that they may cast him down headlong. But he, passing through the midst of them, went his way. So he's gone.
I've never read that. Throw the brother over the cliff.
Trying to talk to them.
Yeah, they was going to toss him. So yeah, so that's Luke, 4. You started 24 down to like 30. But yeah, that's it. They was going to toss him.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Even with something like that, you notice how even with the 2 goats that the Maury was talking about, how you always have an innocent who is punished for the iniquities of a guilty,
Mm-hmm.
and the guilty is let free, and the innocent die.
Yep.
So Mashiyach did a whole lot. Let me tell y'all something. When you see him walking through healing people and all that, that wasn't for free. All that would cost him something. All of that was costing something. It was going to be that stake that he would be nailed upon us and stricken with. When I tell you, I don't even know if there's enough ink, lead, pencil, and paper to even record all the things that he did for Yashra'al.
Absolutely.
I don't even think we understand, the length and depth that he went through for us as a people. That's why, let me tell you something. It'll be very hard to stand before him. You know, it just has to be out of his love and stuff for us that he allows to. That's why Shaul, and it's so crazy. Me and Maury talk about it all the time, how even Mashiyach, he talks about the covenant, he remembered the covenant. Or the father actually, he remembered the covenant that he made with Abraham. That's very important. And we forget we're a covenant people. But y'all find it strange that we put more emphasis on the law than we do the covenant. And everything is about the covenant, but our focus is the law. I hear Israelites on Facebook, YouTube, they just run around people on the streets. If they don't have a beard, they ain't got no fringes, I'm like, this is the people who have really missed it. They really don't know what's going on. They have no earthly idea of what's going on.
Isn't that kind of what the Pharisees and the Sadducees were doing? Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's exactly what they were doing.
Yeah, absolutely. When you begin to talk about all the things that the Father sent the Son to do, and he accomplished everything. And like you said, there's not enough ink, there's not enough paper, there's not enough lead, okay, to write down and record everything that the Mashiyach went through and the stress that he was under. I forget the name of the condition, but the type of stress that the Mashiyach was under, where it can cause a chemical change within inside of your body where you can actually sweat blood. Yeah, you can sweat blood. I mean, you're talking about stress, not being received of the people that you were sent to redeem.